Hello and welcome. I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top headlines this hour. A federal immigration officer shoots and kills a man in Minneapolis, sparking new protests. State lawmakers identify him as 37-year-old US citizen and nurse Alex Pretty. The killing comes weeks after another US citizen was shot by an immigration agent in the same city. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz calls federal accounts false and orders a state probe as Trump accuses local leaders of inciting unrest. Trump says the US will impose a 100% tariff if Canada strikes a trade deal with China. The warning follows Canada's announced partnership with Beijing and rising tensions between Ottawa and Washington. Myanmar's military rulers open the final phase of voting in a controversial election. Watchdogs say the polls will entrench junta's rule as a pro-military party eyes a landslide. Trump praises British soldiers as brave a day after his NATO comments spark outrage in Britain and Europe. London rejects his claim that European troops avoided frontline fighting in Afghanistan. Ukraine and Russia end 2 days of US brokered talks in Abu Dhabi without an agreement. Both sides say they remain open to more talks despite continued attacks on energy sites. Syria's military and Kurdish-led forces extend a ceasefire by 15 days. Damascus says the move supports a US operation to transfer ISIL prisoners. Italy recalls its ambassador and protects the bail release of a Swiss bar owner after a deadly fire. The blaze killed 40 people as owners face probes for negligent homicide and other offences. Well, those are the top headlines of the hour, but we start in the United States for our top update. And in the latest incident of the shooting involving a US citizen, 37-year-old Alex Pretty was shot and killed by a Border Patrol agent in Minneapolis on Saturday. This marks the second such incident this very month during a federal immigration enforcement surge that has sparked protests and strong opposition from residents and local politicians. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz spoke out, calling the incident sickening and urging Minnesotans to continue protesting peacefully. Governor Walz has also called for the removal of federal agents, stating that their presence was only adding to the chaos. He has confirmed that the state would lead an investigation into the shooting and has demanded that President Donald Trump withdraw ICE agents from Minnesota. Let's listen into his statements.
Well, as I said last week, this federal occupation of Minnesota long ago stopped being a matter of immigration enforcement. It's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of our state. And today that campaign claimed another life. I've seen the videos from several angles, and it's sickening. Minnesota's justice system will have the last word on this. It must have the last word. As I told the White House in no uncertain terms this morning, the federal government cannot be trusted to lead this investigation. The state will handle it, period.
Speaking at a news conference, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey has also joined the calls for an end to federal immigration operations, saying the violence must stop. Let's listen in to the statement.
Minnesota's justice system will have the last word on this. It must have the last word. As I told the White House in no uncertain terms this morning, the federal government cannot be trusted to lead this investigation. The state will handle it, period.
Saw a video of more than 6 masked agents pummeling one of our constituents and shooting him to death. How many more residents, how many more Americans need to die or get badly hurt for this operation to end? So, to President Trump, this is a moment to act like a leader. put Minneapolis, put America first in this moment. Let's achieve peace. Let's end this operation, and I'm telling you, our city will come back. Safety will be restored. We're asking for you to take action now to remove these federal agents.
Joining us now is Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar, an international relations expert, joining us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Kochar. Pleasure to talk to you, of course. Minneapolis is an extremely sensitive city. We saw the likes of George Floyd killed in 2020, which sparked major protests that started in Minneapolis and then spread worldwide. However, in terms of this is the second US citizen that has been killed in the last 2 weeks. The federal authorities have blocked the local authorities of investigating it. Please, what is the reason for this, and how do you think the balance between local and state sovereignty should be maintained in a situation like this?
Thank you, Thomas. It's a very, very disturbing trend which we are seeing in the United States as of now. And we have been discussing this in your program earlier also, because Minneapolis, if you remember, a few days back, there was a similar incident there. And what we are actually observing is that there is a tendency on the part of the Trump administration to override the authority of the state forces. As we've heard also, the governors also speaking on it very, very strongly. It's I think it's a constitutional a violation on the part of the federal government, because the state is fully competent to handle the situation. There is no breakdown in the law and order in the state, and no formal request from the state has gone to the federal government to you ask for some additional help. So I think this is a disturbing trend. It is setting a very wrong precedence, I would say, that in the governance of the United States, because the United States prides itself to be one of the largest democracies of the world. And it is also very, very vocal in pointing out infirmities in the other countries and democratic countries, and particularly India, because some of the incidents which President Trump and the US administration has been speaking on our style of governance. So I think a bit of introspection needs to be done here. Secondly is that this can boomerang very badly on the Trump administration, because we are aware these primaries are also going to happen this year, and a fair amount of public outrage is evident, because what is happening is that Trump administration, why it is doing it. So we need to understand that first. The foremost reason is that when he came to power, he promised that he would remove all illegal immigrants from the United States. He has not been able to do that. So, because it's a very cumbersome process, and it has to be done meticulously. And what he is targeting now is he is targeting the innocent, because he wants to prove that X number of immigrants are there, and I am doing my best to weed them out, but unfortunately it's not happening.
Okay, Dr. Kochar, what essentially, basically, what we saw previously is the same thing that we've seen this time, which is a conclusion that's being drawn before any investigation has taken place. And also the blocking of local authorities, of course, Democrat-run local authorities, from even participating in the investigation with both of these killings, both Renee Good and now Preti, as we've said. What would be the reason for not allowing state and local police and law enforcement to be involved in an investigation that has taken place in their own city?
See, this has political overtones. Actually what happens is that when you start targeting the opposition states, because most of the incidents, if you've seen, are either happening in California, or they are, we saw an incident in Portland, and all these states where they are governed by the Democrats. So possibly there is a lack of trust, in the sense that he feels that the way he wants to implement this immigration policy, the state administration may resist to implement it or to follow his orders. A clear case of mistrust, I would say that. He should understand that people who are elected are the representatives of the population of that area. They have a responsibility, they have a role to play, and they should be given space to carry out their function. In case if it is not happening, or in case Trump administration feels that in the manner and in the urgency and in the speed is lacking, then a communication has to be established with the state authorities, because here a kind of a arbitrary action is being taken, a kind of a unilateral action is being taken without taking the state administration into confidence. So I think this is
Okay.
I would even go to state that, though it's a larger statement, I think it's a constitutional breakdown of the way the states have to be managed.
Yes, Dr. Kochar, thank you very much as always for taking the time. It's a pleasure to talk to you here on NewsX World. We now move on and over to Abu Dhabi, where the first three-way peace talks between Russia, Ukraine and the United States have ended without a breakthrough as fighting continues on the ground. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says a second meeting could take place as early as next week, with a US official confirming talks are set to resume on February the 1st. The two-day negotiations ended amid fresh Russian airstrikes on Ukraine's damaged energy infrastructure, killing one person and injuring dozens, according to Kyiv. Russia accused Ukraine of separate attacks on an ambulance and on energy facilities inside Russian territory. Those claims could not be independently verified. Zelensky says talks focused on parameters to end the war, with US monitoring seen as key. Moscow says it remains open to continued dialogue. Joining us now to discuss this is Major General A.K. Siwach, a geostrategic expert, joining us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us. The first trilateral meeting has ended without any major breakthrough. This comes, of course, as a barrage of aerial attacks continues to pound Ukraine's energy infrastructure, leading to the loss of power and of course, heating for over 1 million Ukrainians who are in the midst of a biting Eastern European winter. Major General, why do you think that they are waiting even 5 days for the next set of talks that we're going to see now on February the 1st, given that there was no significant breakthrough and, of course, a mass risk of a humanitarian crisis in Ukraine due to the ongoing attacks on the energy infrastructure there?
You see, the problem is there is a trust deficit between Ukraine and Russia, and both are sticking to their extreme positions. But one good thing has happened is the meeting which had taken place in Abu Dhabi. It was a trial meeting. It was trilateral meeting. It's the first time the Russians and the Ukrainian officials could sit down across the table and discuss it. Of course, not major achievements have been there in Abu Dhabi, but this is the beginning, and the next meeting will also take place shortly. Now, let's assume as to why Russia is doing what it is doing. No doubt about it, Russia is now hitting on the energy sector of Ukraine, and it want to paralyze Ukraine administration. It want to disrupt the supply chain. It wants to break the command and control system of Ukraine, putting tremendous pressure so that they agree to sort of a demand which is given by Russia. The Russia is now taken already 20% of the area of Ukraine in the eastern side of Ukraine. That is a Donbas, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. And Donbas has got two sub parts which are Donetsk and Luhansk. Almost 85% of that Donbas area is with Russia. And Crimea, it has taken place in 2014. What Russia is demanding is that the complete Donbas, including the 15% which is with the Ukraine, must be given to Russia, because this is a Russian speaking people and they have been traditionally along with the Russia. Now, this is a sticking point which is there, which the Ukraine is saying that they will not able to get this 15% of area still held by Ukraine in Donbas area. That is one of the sticking point. The second sticking point, which was there, by and large, it is seemingly got resolved. The security guarantee which Ukraine wants it, because Ukraine cannot join NATO. That is a red line which is given by Russia. But a security guarantee, something akin to Article 5 of NATO, that has been agreed by the US, and possibly that will be. So the sticking point today is basically of the territory of Donbas. Whether they, how do they negotiate between Russia and Ukraine? Until then, you will find it both sides are attacking each other energy sector, and mainly Russia is successful in crippling the energy sector of Ukraine. It is hitting on Kyiv. It is hitting Kharkiv, which is a financial capital of Ukraine. It is also hitting the port city of Odessa. So therefore, both will keep on hitting on each other until unless some sort of negotiation, some sort of solution found out. The talks will be again taking place after a few days. Maybe that they may move forward. But to me, it looks like that at least the beginning has been made when the Russians and Ukrainians are sitting across the table and discussing it. Remember, the Zaporizhia and Kherson is not a sticking point where possibly in Zaporizhia nuclear plant may be shared by both. So the sticking point is Donbas, the area which Russia want to completely take it, which Ukraine is not very keen. Ukraine say that it will not like to part with complete Donbas.
Indeed. Major General A.K. Sawatch, thank you very much. Do stay with us as we move on to our next story. And a 4-day ceasefire between the Syrian government and Kurdish forces, which expired and has been extended by 15 days. Troops from the government have seized swathes of northern and eastern territory in the last 2 weeks from the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces in a rapid turn of events that has consolidated President Ahmed al-Shara's rule. Shara's forces were closing in on the last SDF strongholds earlier this week when he abruptly announced the ceasefire, giving them until last night to lay down their arms and come up with a plan to integrate with Syria's army or to continue fighting. According to reports, the SDF have not responded to the government's attempts to reach out, while the SDF accused the government of moving towards escalation in a systemic matter through the military build-ups. Of course, the situation in Syria's northeast remains volatile, but what does this 15-day extension say about the current situation in Syria, Major General Sawatch?
As far as Syria is concerned, it is still, one can say, disturbed. The peace has not completely come. Ahmed al-Shara is now the president of Syria, wherein the US is supporting him. Initially, the US was supporting the Syrian Democratic Force, which is of the Kurds in northeast. Now that is where the America was all the time supporting. In fact, against they were fighting against Assad government, and Assad basically now has run away and taken asylum in Russia, and Al-Sara government has come. Now the point is that Al-Sara government want the Syrian Democratic Force, which is basically Kurd, they should now join the Syrian army. Now this is the tussle which is going on, and possibly the ceasefire was done for a few days, and they were putting tremendous pressure on the Syrian Democratic Force to join the Syrian army, but they have not responded. But this basically now the ceasefire unilaterally has been extended by the Syrian government for another 15 days. That basically the reason is the ISIS camps, which is the prison camps, which were there in Syrian Democratic Force areas, that is the Kurds area, the American want to now shift in Iraq. And that will take time, possibly. That's why the ceasefire done, extended for 15 days. Remember that as far as the Kurds are concerned, they are not only in minority in Syria, they were in also in Turkey, again in Iran and Iraq. So all these areas, the Kurds have been demanding autonomous area, but they have never succeeded. And you see what happened in Iraq earlier. Saddam Hussein has also basically used a chemical weapon against the Kurd population, and now also the Kurds were having problem with Turkey, which was Erdogan has been always saying that the Kurds have been undermining the nationality of Turkey. So overall, the Syrian Democratic Force is a force to reckon with in northern east portion of Syria. They want certain autonomy. Possibly they may join the Syrian Democratic Syrian army, but it will take time. The ceasefire, of course, is for 15 days. It is a good news because the fighting will not get any result. America is very keen that there should be some compromise between the government of Syria, that is Ahmed al-Sara, and the Syrian Democratic Force, because America were backing a Syrian Democratic Force when they were fighting against the Assad government. Possibly there is a chances of having a ceasefire extended even after 15 days, and some sort of a solution is found out. Otherwise, you'll find that Syria, if no solution found out, a civil war situation will prevail. Last year also you find that against Druze, they have used violence, sectarian violence which has taken place, and the Israelis have then come and bombarded a certain area of Syria. So overall, a volatile situation, but seemingly it's a good sign that if it extended for 15 days, it may be further extended, and some sort of solution between SDF and the government of Syria can come.
Indeed. Major General AK Siwatch, thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX World. It's a pleasure to have you as always. We now move on over to the Indo-Pacific for our next story, and authorities in Indonesia continue to search for at least 80 people missing after a landslide killed 10 in West Java province. Some bodies have been found, and the police have said that they are trying to identify the victims. Rescue operations have been hampered by difficult terrain, thick landslide material, and the heavy rainfall. Dozens of houses have been reported to be buried by the landslide debris and mud, causing severe damage to residential areas near the affected site. The local authorities have urged residents living near the affected area to remain alert and stay away from landslide-prone zones, citing the risk of secondary disasters due to unstable soil conditions. Here's what some locals had to say about the disaster.
Itu mati lampu, yang mati lampu tuh hujan tuh 3 hari nggak berhenti, sama angin juga. Jam 2 malam itu ada suara gemuruh sama goyang gitu, sama gempa. Nah, kita
nggak percaya. Gimana ya? Biasa lihat di TV kan, sekarang kok kejadian di kampung gitu, di kampung sendiri gitu. Ya masih ada takut ada itu kalau hujan nggak berhenti, pasti kita takutnya ada susulan.
Now, NASA and the Department of Energy have agreed to work together on development of nuclear reactors for the moon as industry awaits the release of a final call for proposals. NASA and the Department of Energy announced that they had signed a memorandum of understanding related to NASA's fission surface power program. And under the program, NASA will work with industry through one or more funded Space Act agreements to develop a nuclear reactor capable of operating on the moon. NASA has cooperated with the Department of Energy on nuclear power systems for decades, including a project called Kilowatt Reactor using Stirling technology, or Krusty, which conducted ground tests of a nuclear reactor that could later be flown in space. A 2020 agreement between the agencies included plans to collaborate on nuclear power for the moon. The Department of Energy will provide regulatory oversight as well as design support for the reactor. It will also supply about 400 kilograms of high-assay, low-enriched uranium, or HELU, fuel for both ground demonstrations and the flight reactor. Well, that's all that we have time for this hour. Keep watching NewsX World for more international news updates.